I think it's important to point out, first of all, that Eric has more gray hair than that. Clearly, he posed early in his tenure. But it's a remarkable likeness, a wonderful portrait. I am thrilled to be here, despite the fact that Eric is really just milking this departure thing for everything that it's worth. I mean, golly. To celebrate a great friend and a great public servant. Somebody who's led this department with integrity and, along with all of you, made our nation more free and more just. Our Attorney General, Eric Holder. Now, in September, when Eric and I stood together at the White House and announced that he'd be leaving the Justice Department, he thanked all of you for joining him on a journey that, in his words, will always be guided by the pursuit of justice and aimed at the North Star. And that sums up Eric's career. A life guided by justice, aimed at his North Star. His bedrock belief in the fundamental rights and equality of all people. It's the principle that shaped his career, from his early days as a federal prosecutor through his years on the bench, his previous turns at the Justice Department as a Deputy Attorney General and Acting Attorney General, and finally his exemplary service as 82nd Attorney General of the United States. Eric is America's third longest serving Attorney General. I know it felt even longer. And I'll just come out and say it, he has been one of our finest. Hundreds of terrorism convictions, the largest mafia takedown in history, billion-dollar financial fraud cases, long overdue reforms to our criminal justice system. Thanks in part to Eric's leadership, the overall crime rate and overall incarceration rate declined together for the first time in 40 years last year. And then there's all that Eric's done to restore what he calls the conscience of the nation, our Civil Rights Division. And as many of you know, Eric has a personal connection to that office. When Nicholas Katzenbach was Deputy Attorney General during the Kennedy administration, he escorted 2 African-American students through the doors of the University of Alabama after the courts ordered that school to be desegregated, and one of those students happened to be a young woman named Vivian Malone. And her younger sister, Sharon, eventually became an accomplished and renowned doctor and married a promising young lawyer, somewhat below her standards, named Eric Holder. So if you ever wondered why Eric has Katzenbach's portrait hanging in his office, that's why. Under Eric's watch, this department has relentlessly defended the Voting Rights Act and the right to vote, pushed back against attempts to undermine that right. He's challenged discriminatory state immigration laws that not only risked harassment of citizens and legal immigrants, but actually made it harder for law enforcement to do their job. He's brought record number of prosecutions for human trafficking and hate crimes, and resolution to legal disputes with Native Americans that had languished for years. Several years ago, Eric recommended that our government stop defending the Defense of Marriage Act because he wants our country to be a place where love is love and where same-sex marriage is recognized on the federal level, and same-sex couples can receive the same federal benefits as anybody else. With Eric Holder as its lawyer, America has become a better country, which means that saying goodbye is bittersweet. You have done a remarkable job. It's hard to let you go. I tried to talk him out of it. But he's earned a break. And Sharon and Brooke and Maya and Buddy, they've waited a pretty long time to get you back. Now, Eric promised to stay on until the Senate confirms his successor. And just yesterday, the Senate Judiciary Committee approved Loretta Lynch to be the next Attorney General. Once the entire Senate confirms her and she's finally allowed to get to work, I know that she is going to do a superb job. And Eric, that means that you're leaving the Justice Department in outstanding hands. Let me close by saying that you don't have to take my word that Eric has made a difference in the life of this country. We collected just a few samples of the letters that were written during the course of the presidency or after the announcement that Eric was leaving. Never in my lifetime, read one letter from an older American in Michigan, can I remember any Attorney General of the United States that has done so much for our country and all its citizens. A woman in California wrote, Eric Holder was the best U.S. Attorney General ever. When people complain about you, that means you're doing something right. He will truly be missed. A Kentucky man wrote to say, we thank you, Mr. Holder, for your unwavering passion in pursuit of your honorable vision. You made a difference. You are much more than simply a public official. You are a servant possessing a heart with the audacity to care. And I'll provide one last testimony from today, not in written form. Working with Eric in the wake of the Trayvon Martin case, we initiated something called My Brother's Keeper. And we're trying to reach out to young people all across the country who may not have all the advantages, may sometimes be subject to stereotypes, trying to give them pathways for success. And as part of this, we had a group of young men, African American and Latino, who are White House mentees, drawn from this local area. And today we had dinner, or lunch. Broderick was there, and we sat down, and I explained to them that they don't have to be that tense about which fork to use. You kind of work your way in. That when I had dinner with the Queen of England, I seemed to do okay with just that basic rule and not eating with my mouth open. And we went around the room, and they talked about their hopes and their aspirations and what colleges they had gone to and what they were doing. And there were a couple of outstanding football players in the group and a track star and a number of future neurobiologists and several who are planning to join our armed forces. And this one young man who had a, at the moment, disqualifying haircut, said, I want to be the Attorney General of the United States. Didn't say he wanted to be governor or senator or congressman or even president. Said, I want to be the Attorney General of the United States. And I think about all the young people out there who have seen you work and have been able to get just an innate sense, without knowing you personally, that you're a good man. And, you know, having good men in positions of power and authority who are willing to fight for what's right, that's a rare thing. That's a powerful thing. It's something that shapes our future in ways we don't even understand. We don't always imagine. It made me very proud. So, Eric, your country thanks you for your honorable vision and your unwavering passion, and, as the gentleman from Kentucky said, your audacity to care. Michelle and I thank you for being a friend and partner throughout this incredible journey, and to all the men and women of the Department of Justice, thank you for your extraordinary service on behalf of the American people. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Attorney General Eric Holder.
Self out again as we speak. We have a vacancy on the Supreme Court with the retirement of Justice David Souter and the selection of his replacement. And I understand that about July 13th, the hearings will begin for Judge Sotomayor. And that's always an educational experience for the country. Once a justice is confirmed and on the bench, you don't see a lot of them, certainly not much on television, because we don't have cameras in the Supreme Court room at this point, and you won't see them. In fact, my own, when I took the oath of office at the U.S. Supreme Court, I took it in the Supreme Court chambers, and the President and Mrs. Reagan were in attendance. I think that's the last time that the ceremony has been conducted there, because presidents like to have it on television. So they bring them to the White House and have all the TV cameras. So I think I was the last one